Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining me on this episode of the Pave It Forward podcast. My name is Phil Metzger, and I am here to help leaders in the paving industry who are looking to run more efficiently, meet their ideal customer, and improve the lives of those around them through meaningful work. And as you might know or notice that I did not say Kevin in there, Kevin had a no-show on the crew on Friday, and then yesterday he had some unexpected family matters to tend to. Family first, and though our paving family out there in listener land is important, he has a couple of boys that come first there at home. But I hope everyone out there is having a great day today, and I still hope to bring you, the Asphalt business owner, the value that you're looking for. I thought I would take this opportunity to dive into a little bit of marketing strategy. In this episode, I'm going to kind of break down social media. We're going to go through the networks that ADC uses, the opportunity that lies in Facebook, the ideal length of a video, which was one of our questions from the class at NPE, and it has popped up several times. Our preferred networks that we like to use, the types of content that we use, and the places that you want to make sure that you are on, just even at no matter what phase of the process you're in as far as marketing or getting your message out there or advertising. I have two specific places at the end of the episode that I'll get to that I want to make sure that you guys are well represented in and get yourself the best chance at gaining some customers through those networks. Just a quick note here before we get started. If you have any questions, message us on Instagram. That's at Pave It Forward Inc. And that is a new handle. Basically, the thought behind that was if you start to type in Pave on Instagram, then it won't show up first because we used to have an underscore right after the at. But anyways, getting back to that, message us on Instagram at Pave It Forward INC. Drop a comment on YouTube or email us directly at hello@paveitforwardinc.com. That's paveitforwardinc.com. Okay, so now on to social media. The idea of social media, and there's a couple different ways to think about it. A lot of businesses and marketers you will hear to be present on every network. And I'm here to say that that's not necessarily true. And as a matter of fact, I think it's impossible, especially if you're a small business, you're trying to handle it yourself. There's so many different platforms, and each of them has their own messaging system. So, I mean, that's adding potentially 7 to maybe 12, even 15 different networks that you're trying to keep up with and see how these networks work, see how you get leads, see how qualified these leads are. I mean, it's a huge time concerning process. And so we choose to focus on just a few and really put our time and attention into. Now, as I said, there's a list of places that we make sure that we are represented because our ideal client is on several different platforms. And if you have the ability to, be in different places and represent yourself well, that's great. Now, it can be very challenging to produce content that is made for all the different networks, and we can get into that a bit as well. But here are the different places that ADC has a presence in no particular order: YouTube, Google My Business, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. We also do things like Blog Quarterly, Chamber of Commerce events, local media, advertising, and there's a lot more things. But as far as social media, those 5 are the 5 that we really try to keep in our rotation every week. Another side note is that we do not use canned responses. My marketing company, Mirror Marketing, does represent ADC, but we do not actually respond for him. So as not only a marketing company, but as someone who's wanting the best for Kevin's business, we believe that that is the natural transition point from marketing. If you want to call it sales, that's fine. But marketing, the divide between marketing and the system that is internally at ADC. So we provide the content. We use a lot of what Kevin says on camera to help him script the description for the posts. And then once someone either reaches out through messaging or through commenting, that's when it's on ADC to respond. And that's when it's out of our hands and into theirs. And we don't use canned responses, which I think is really important. Kevin is responsible for his own messaging and his own responses. And so that's part of kind of that transparent, being who you say you're going to be. When Kevin can put a thoughtful response, or even if, there's a situation where we were going to come in and respond for him, we don't know what relationships Kevin already does and doesn't have. So that's why we kind of you kind of have to, in our system, focus on very few. And so we focus our correspondence on Instagram and YouTube. Now, this is for both ADC and Pave It Forward. We're going to mostly be talking about ADC this episode, obviously, because we want to help you, the business owner, the paving business owner, but also to give you a little context. It might help to throw a little bit of that Pave It Forward stuff in there too. But as far as why we concentrate on Instagram and YouTube, Kevin had basically an affinity for Instagram from the beginning. And I like Instagram as a platform because I think it's a good way through stories and now through reels to kind of show off that creativity, but to really kind of connect with other people in your industry. Not so much as finding your ideal customer, but as far as that built-in kind of support group and built-in community of people that are looking at the same type content that you are. I think professionally and personally that Instagram is pretty good. So what we do with Instagram and YouTube is we provide content for ADC, and then we'll pull those comments, as I said, from interviews that we do with Kevin. And I'll go over those interviews in a second. And then what we try to do is when I'm in town with Kevin and ADC, we record different types of videos. And then we will use an interview that we sit down and record, usually about 45 minutes to an hour. We'll use that interview for actual video content, and then also those descriptions and stuff like that that we put for Kevin. So I next want to get into Facebook, and that is our second of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 topics. And the opportunity on Facebook, I think, is big for no matter what size company you have, and especially when you're starting out, because there's two different audiences that you can interact with on Facebook, which has been the key to a lot of the success that we've seen, is not only getting your customer to view your content, but also similar industries. Because as I said, when you see someone else that is out there in the same profession, that you can take one of two ways. You can say it's a negative, no, they're not doing it right, or yes, I want to give that person some support. Either way, you get that they watch, and it helps you. The longer people watch on these platforms your videos, the better it helps your account. So that relationship between the people that are in your industry and your potential customer is a really good relationship that you can build on Facebook. And then when you talk about ads, I mean, the age group and demographics of people that are on Facebook is the homeowner. And whether it be seal coating or paving or patchwork or whatever, you can get those contracts that are through the city, state governments, property managers and all that stuff. But chances are you're starting off with residential. So it's a great platform for that kind of 35 to 65 age range. The types of video ads fit well within the scrolling. And so the benefit from running ads on Instagram is also there because Facebook controls Instagram. I don't want to overwhelm you too much, but I'll talk about the Facebook and Instagram dynamic a little bit later, because Facebook, the interface can be difficult to understand when you're running ads. Boosting, it can help. I think a lot of people out there are familiar with, as soon as you post something on Facebook, you get that blue boost button, and it can help. It will get you results. But the thing is they can try to guess your audience, but they don't know if it's national or local. They don't know exactly, what age range you're going for. There's a lot of different demographics you can use. So if you're familiar with Ads Manager, you can jump in there and you can really, with maybe a day or two's worth of work, get your first piece out there for $20, have it running, and then you can kind of check back in on it in 2 weeks if you want to. So it's not user friendly, but it is usable, especially even if you're trying to do this all yourself. If you can find something that you want to put out there, I think Facebook is worth the time. So how long can and should a video be? This is a question that is pretty popular as far as in the marketing world. When people see our content, they will reach out and ask that specific question. And it's not exactly a great place to start, because the answer is going to be as long as it needs to be. And it's also very much based on the network, because you have your, platforms like YouTube, which can embrace any length of content. And then you have stuff like Instagram and TikTok, which wants to focus on the shorter content, or traditionally has wanted to focus on the shorter content. So if the platform requires, an audience, or is set up for an audience that is going to stick around for a while, like if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, YouTube can verify that people are here to watch for a long time, and it has these different ways to tell what type of customer is watching right now. So I know that's a really roundabout way, but I thought I would just kind of go through the list of different social media outlets that I named earlier, and that I would just tell you a little bit about the requirements. It can be kind of dry, but it is useful to know, especially when you are trying to figure out which network that you want to represent your company. So again, I'll go through this list. Google My Business, which I will be happy to talk more in, but essentially this is Google's posting network. It's not necessarily a social media, but if you're on Google and you see, and you type in a business name and you see it pop up on the right side on your computer, it gives you the website, directions, maybe a phone call option. It'll show you some ratings. And so that's important. And the reason I included it in here under social media is because we want to post there as often as we do on social media. Because when people search for your company on Google, they will see that another part of that section on the right is updates. And so you can show pictures of your crew working on a driveway, or the video you recorded of yourself as a leader or someone in your office. You can show them. It's an opportunity to make your company more human, like from the very get-go, on the world's biggest search engine. So with Google My Business and Facebook, as I'll allude to later on, those two are very important, I think, as a basis. If you have to pick two, those are two. But back to Google My Business, how long should the video be? Not long at all, because out of any platform, it takes a very small resolution. Sometimes you can get a video up to 20 seconds, but if you have any pictures or any, happy St. Patty's Day, happy holidays, anything like that you want to post, you can also post that to Google My Business. The next one for Facebook is you can post a video up to 4 hours long. Good stuff. Instagram, they got rid of IGTV. As you might have noticed, they're really focusing on Reels now. But as far as a story, it's still 15 seconds for Instagram stories. And of course, you can get around that a little bit as far as chopping it up, making it longer if you need to. But that is 15 seconds. Reels, some people it's 30 seconds, some people it's 60. They release things very, very slowly with Instagram. And oftentimes they will try things like different features, whether it be stickers or new stickers or anything else having to do with the platform. They'll roll it out to limited people. And then if it works well with those limited people, they'll roll it out to more. And I know that sometimes it's taken up to 1.5 years for some people to get features that other people have had for 1.5 years. So, but as far as that, they are advertising that the maximum upload time for Instagram, and I confirm this on the Instagram help page, of 60 minutes. I don't know anyone that's really doing that. That may be still hanging around from IGTV, but we will see more, and that will be guaranteed to change soon. But regardless, with all these, as the video just needs to be as long as it needs to be. You don't want a ton of dead time, which is why an editor helps. It can keep the attention span there, because it's a very fickle audience, these social media networks. And if they don't listen for or get uninterested for a second or two, they're on to the next thing. And it's not like you need every one of them to watch as long as possible, but you want the majority of people to watch as long as possible, because that's telling the network that you're on, your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, that you're there to play ball. So for LinkedIn, it's a lot shorter, but you can still, saying the maximum file size is 5 gigabytes. And so that's pretty big. YouTube, depending on the content, it can be as long as you need to. Now, I think if you need something over like 20 minutes, you need to actually register with YouTube. But we have never had any problem with any maximum length. And then TikTok is 3 minutes from what we've experienced, but on their website, they said you can have a video up to 10 minutes. So that is so wide ranging that you can understand why it's kind of hard to create one piece of content and really focus on many. But I wanted to, as my next topic, get into, I titled it Why I Like YouTube and TikTok and Not LinkedIn. YouTube and TikTok from a marketer standpoint of view. Now, from a paving owner's point of view, a lot of this might seem insignificant, but to someone who is really trying to help both the platform and the company, I find it very useful when these platforms will give you statistics, and YouTube and TikTok give you many metrics, and because they want to give you the stats and analytics you need to succeed. So they'll tell me like when a person is leaving, when most people are leaving the video, so I know what content they're not interested in. The number of stats and important figures as far as growth are there because they want you to know what's working so you can create more content that your audience likes, one, and that keeps them on these platforms. LinkedIn is, let me get to Facebook and IG real quick because they just change their stuff constantly, and that's tough to deal with. So as you'll see, if you do decide to try Ads Manager for Facebook and Instagram, then it's not necessarily complicated. It's just they tend to change the location of things and the format of things pretty often. So there's that. But as far as LinkedIn and why we still have a presence there, but it's pretty tough to take on, especially even if it's your main focus, is that they give you very few stats and they seem to be platform focused instead of for the person putting it on and the end viewer. In other words, I feel like LinkedIn really rewards you if you advertise LinkedIn. So a lot of people will just embrace the fact that they are on LinkedIn and they'll say how to do things on LinkedIn, or they'll just hint to bring a topic that would bring people to LinkedIn. And I know in different parts of the country, LinkedIn is used for very different things. On the West Coast, I know a lot of times they use it for resumes, and it truly is more of a business social network. But I find it very hard to break through the ceiling, and they give you very little indicators as far as what type of material to produce. They're very general in a lot of their instructions as a company. And as I said, you seem to kind of need to promote LinkedIn and be constantly communicating and active on LinkedIn. There's another way to get success on LinkedIn. I call it a boost group, but it's essentially there are people that provide these schedules and say, if you join this group, we're all going to get on at 10:30 post, and then we're all going to comment and like on each other's posts. And that's fine. It can work. I've seen it work. But the problem is it grows your audience based on people that aren't interested in your material. So LinkedIn would be thinking that this painter from Spain is interested in your paving group, but really he's just commenting because you're in this group. And so I think it really just confuses the platform. But I have seen people get more likes. But believe me, you're not out there for likes, especially not every single post, because these algorithms, sometimes your worst piece of content is the one that it pushes the most. And it'll take, a long time for these platforms to figure out what type of content you're actually giving and what people like, which, rolling back to YouTube and TikTok, they give you these stats. They tell you what you're doing right and wrong. So that's just my 2 cents. But I just want to I'll get on to the type of content, the good stuff, what we produce for ADC and kind of our content plan. Every time I come in town to ADC, we do a sit down interview with Kevin, which is also why this podcast is kind of started off pretty well, in our opinion, is that we've been doing this for a couple of years, just not as consistently. But the interview is just, I sit down, I ask him common questions that the customers have, a little bit about himself and a little bit about his involvement in the community. And what this does is it really showcases his knowledge and his passion. So the topics can actually be pretty varied, but if people understand that he is there to solve a problem and that he is actually passionate about his business, it turns out pretty well. Our second type of content is project overview, and this is usually from the field where he will be on the site and it'll just kind of give an overview of what the project entails. And then I'll get some footage from the site, some drone shots, some close-up pictures of the crew, and then I'll come back and overlay that footage onto his kind of narration of the project. We have some entertaining, fun type posts, and that's where I really get to go nuts, where I can showcase his professionalism and put a twist to it, some kind of creative twist to where we're really focusing on the paving industry, where we want other people in the paving industry to think that's cool. Like, that's a different spin on what I do every day. And thanks. You know what I mean? Like, we're encouraging participation and community. The next type of content is photos. On these projects, I'll take a lot of photos whenever I'm in town, around the office, just anywhere ADC is, where the backdrop is pretty nice. And it's always good to have just photos to post. It works well on Instagram, it works well on Facebook, and it works well on Google My Business. So great photos are definitely a good way to get started on any of these platforms, or most of the platforms. And you have the technology in your pocket, so why not? And then the last type of content is just interactivity. And that's kind of the next thing that we're getting into, is on Instagram being more interactive with the paving community. We're actually going to space out the paving industry report through Instagram stories as well. And then we'll also be putting out some content through our website that's more enjoyable and thought-provoking rather than just question and answer. So the interactivity is going to be a little more new, but with the features that are on Instagram now, specifically as far as being able to link to something in a story, you don't have to have 10,000 followers anymore. You can place a link button. Then you can take polls, all kinds of good stuff. So we're really looking forward to getting interactive with everybody and really kind of seeing what these new features can really do. But as I promised, if you are just needing to make sure that your foundation is covered, I know the paving industry is getting cranked up for the year. It's spring everywhere. It's not just the folks in the South and Texas and all the way across the southern part of the United States that get to keep going. Now everyone in the country is really starting to ramp up. So if you're busy and you just like, I want to have this checked off the list, I would definitely recommend going with Google and Facebook. These could take a little bit of time to set up. I would say that if you're technologically savvy, you're used to dealing with digital things, you could probably set up Google My Business and Facebook in 2 to 4 hours, maybe maybe even 30 minutes if you're really good. But this could take a day or two, maybe a day each, if you're not tech savvy and you need to go to Google and search for how to do things. But Google and Facebook are the two top. They're the top generators for ADC as far as all the social networks goes, and I really suspect that is pretty universal. So for Google My Business, I explained a little bit about it earlier as far as going in, and it's kind of that when you search for a company, it's that informational block with a picture, your logo, your information as far as directions, phone number, blah, 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 posts. But you can go in there and set this up, and you will just submit a few fields of information, and then they're going to mail you something with a verification code. And this is to just make sure that you are the company that you say you are on Google. So once you get that up and going and you get that code in, just make sure your information is correct. Put in as much information as you can. It's not going to take necessarily a long time, but you can go through and put in your hours of your company, as far as what time to call. You can put in your phone number. You can say which parts of which areas you serve. I mean, there's all kinds of good stuff, what kind of services you have. And so this just tells Google, I'm here to play ball. And so they automatically will, since you have verified your company, they're going to put you higher on the list when it comes to people searching. And so what else that does is it allows you to take Google reviews. And however you need to do it, get those Google reviews. They tell Google that not only has this company registered with us, these actual people who have Gmail addresses are verifying the type and quality of work that they are doing. So when people come on and search the world's largest search engine for asphalt paving near me, you're going to rank higher on the list if Google knows that you are who you say you are and that other people think that. So get those 5-star ratings. You can, once you're on Google My Business, you can request a link for a review. And what that will do is it's just a link. You can place it on a card, to get more reviews. You can use it in an email with satisfied customers. There's a lot of things you can do to get those Google reviews. But the first thing is set up Google My Business. And the second is Facebook, for all the different reasons we talked about earlier, especially with the residential paving side of things. It's just a solid first step. You can check these. No one really messages you too much through Google My Business. So between Facebook, which you could get a lot, which would probably be great, and Google My Business, I think are great. And then when you're ready to advertise, if you choose to do so, I would start with Facebook, but you're also ready for Google Ads. So, or you're getting closer to being ready for Google Ads. But, I wanted to also mention sources like Angie's List. I included this on the social media one, basically because of the Google type effect that I was talking about. People are going to be searching it, and it's kind of another main way for people to find you. But with Angie's List, it's caused a lot of frustration. So with Angie's List, excuse me. So it's led to a lot of different headaches for us. It's been not necessarily a low number of leads, but the problem has been in sorting through those leads. It tends to create a lot of extra work. And, if you're on your own, I would just think that Google and Facebook, either, and especially both of those, would serve you much better. If you can establish your presence on Facebook, I think over an Angie's List or something like that, I think it's a good thing. If you have administration help, messing around with Angie's List, people have said it worked, but I think it's people that are normally using it right now. And it's kind of like affirmation bias. Like, yeah, it's working because you do get leads, but it seems too tough. And if you can hire a person specifically for Angie's List, actually that's what Keith at K&L does. I don't know how many episodes we reference Keith at K&L, but I guess it's just because that's who we talk to most about this kind of stuff. But anyways, he was just saying that they have been messing around with Angie's List, and that you can hire a full-time person and you can get a lot of good leads, but it's a lot of work. So, and all that being said, if you want any help with the types of settings to film with on your phone, please let me know. I am toying around with the idea. I have one person who is asking, can I just send you the videos and then you kind of edit from there? And I really like that idea. But if nothing else, there's just a few things about settings that I'd be happy to go over with you. So again, shoot me a message on Instagram at Pave It Forward Inc. You can email directly, hello@paveitforwardinc. You could also drop a comment on YouTube, but I'd still want to figure out how to get a hold of you to send you the information. So I hope that was a good piece of information about social media. I know I can get on a rant sometimes as far as getting into my nerddom, but hopefully I was able to give you guys some good information and a good starting point. And please reach out. I'm going to go on with my thought that won't stop. The first thing is the St. Peter's Peacocks men's basketball team, a school of around 2,500 students, is getting ready to play in the Elite Eight, which is really cool. I am a big college basketball fan, especially March Madness fan, being originally from Louisville, Kentucky, where the Cards and the Cats win at it every single year. Two big programs. I mean, our community is just really consumed by the UK-UVL rivalry, and it all comes down to basketball too. So I like watching it. I love watching the tournament. Basketball goal in the backyard is always going to be a thing for me. But as far as the St. Peter's Peacocks, 15th ranked school with let's see what this is here. This does not include coaching salaries, but is less than their overall budget for the program is $250,000, which is lowest by far in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. And that's also $130 million less on athletics than last year than Kentucky had. Kentucky spent $130 million more on their athletics program. They took them down in the first round. They went on and beat Murray State. They went on and beat Purdue. They're playing North Carolina today. So that's exciting for me. And the other thought that won't stop is babies. My wife is due in about 5 or 6 weeks. And so I'm off to build more furniture. We have been spending all kinds of time prepping for the apartment, and I'm definitely excited. So lots of baby prep, the feeling of spring, paving season, baseball season, baby season. Let's go. So go to paveitforwardinc.com and click on the button labeled Paving Industry Report. Boy, wasn't that a smooth transition? Just 2 more quick things here. We still are running the Paving Industry Report. So if you're interested in taking that full survey, go to paveitforwardinc.com. That's paveitforwardinc.com and click on the button labeled Paving Industry Report. Reach out to us on Instagram at paveitforwardinc. And Kevin will be joining us next week. Kevin, we miss you. We're excited to get back to it. We have 2 different topics that we're both pretty excited to address, so I'm not sure which one we'll pick. But thank you for joining us. This has been the Pave It Forward podcast, where we aim to help leaders in the paving industry who are looking to run more efficiently, meet their ideal customer, and improve the lives of those around them through meaningful work. Thanks for listening.